The footwork we are talking about today can be a game changer for you, but I don't want you to just know how to do it. I want you to actually understand the application, how you can utilize it in sparring or in a fight to take your skill level, just bump it up super high to be more effective offensively, but more importantly, how this can help you so much defensively. We have just days to go until my Strike Ready Takedown course launches, where we focus on how to catch kicks and put people down, how to engage in the clinch and toss them, basically how to dominate somebody utilizing those takedowns. This Sunday at midnight, the doors close. Make sure you get yourself registered so you can join for the 25 plus videos and the 3 live calls, which we'll have over 5 weeks. So we are talking about footwork. I don't cover footwork as much as I might like on the channel, mostly because it is very, very detailed. And I just want everybody to make sure they fully understand how to do it. And I think there will be a course down the road where we do a full in-depth look at footwork and distance and balance, because it's just so overwhelming. There's so much to cover. But in general for today, we're going to be talking about how to pivot off the lead foot and cut that angle. Now, many of you, you'll be able to do that in an instant. I'll say, okay, throw the jab, pivot out. Boom, I did it. Okay, let's move on. No, we need to understand how to apply this offensively and defensively, and why you might feel like you're not being able to properly execute. Now, the very first thing when we look at this is we just, very simply, if you're new to this, we just elevate the weight out of the heel. I'm not going to do it this extreme, but essentially I'm shifting forward. Now I take my back foot and I move not in the direction of the toes, but in the direction of the heel. Now, if I'm tight to somebody, like really snug in, and I do this, I'm gonna cut enough of an angle that you were facing towards them initially, but once you cut, you're gonna end up facing over here. And you have that split second before they can really utilize any proper attack. Sure, they can kind of come across with an awkward cross or try and bring their arm out and hook you, but you are quite safe when you're facing somebody at this angle as opposed to here. And that all happens from just this. But sometimes you want to take a little pre-step. You want to step out to the side, maybe more when we're at a longer distance. Maybe you throw a jab, and as you jab, you step out, and now you cut the angle. Sometimes when we're at longer distance, this works very well. Now, one of the drills that I have been utilizing lately for my students is getting them to do little switches where we go 1, 2, or I'm going to start on this side, 1, 2, 3, and then we cut off a side, and then 1, 2, 3, cut back. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just so they're getting used to that. But like I said, now they're doing the drill, but they don't really understand why. Now, offensively, of course, as I already said, you can be hitting your shots and then cut that angle off, recognizing the distance and whether you need to take that extra step or not. But it's really, to me, defensively where this starts to play a factor. And even more so, if you're not going to utilize this technique, you want to understand how it still applies so you can recognize when somebody uses it and why they're able to take advantage of you because they're using it, because you want to shut that down. So let's say, for instance, you're fighting a southpaw and they keep getting their foot to the outside of your foot. So your lead foots are lined up, but now they step to the outside. As soon as they do that and they now cut an angle, they're going to be in a great position. So that's why when you're facing a southpaw, it's very important to make sure your foot does not end up inside theirs. It's outside. And if they start moving this direction, you have to match them. Because if they're able to move this direction and then cut that angle, now they're lined up for that big cross and you are sitting there like this. Oh shoot, now I'm in trouble and I gotta just cover up and regain distance and then square back up. You're always at that disadvantage. So it's one of the reasons we don't let people do that. But more so, the reason I wanted to touch on this is for this awesome defensive move, which I actually utilized against both Thai opponents I faced. If you stuck around for all the other stuff and you're still here, this is where you're really gonna get the good details. This is for all the people out there who didn't click off in 1 minute and go, oh yeah, you know, I watched a little bit, I got it. So if you did stick around till now, thank you very much. I assume you're already subscribed to the channel. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up, please, just so we can get that YouTube algorithm kicking the videos out. So if I am standing here and I cut the angle, and I'm not thinking offensively, I'm thinking defensively, what have I done? Well, I always teach people that when we hinge our body, it's almost like a door opening, right? The door is like this, and then when you step back with one foot, the door opens. Closed, open. When I do that motion, I've made my rather large body here much smaller. Now, I can utilize this in a number of ways, but if I'm able to throw a hook at the same time as I step backwards, boom, and somebody's rushing forward, their attack is gonna go by me, and at the same time, I might be able to club them in the back of the head. This is called a check hook. But if you don't understand this footwork, you're not gonna be using the check hook very well. So that's the first way that you can use some offense and some defense at the same time. But even more so, when you want to block an attack that's right to the torso, and like I said, I did this against both Thai opponents I faced. We looked at what are they best at? Well, Lordzilla was very good at bringing his knee up and firing through. And he didn't do a kind of a snappy front kick, but he went like boom. And also, Yodkampur Sitmanchai, who I faced, was doing that as well. He was in glory, he fought in glory before he faced me, and he was literally putting his opponents on their bum. They'd be standing here, they'd get knocked back, and they'd end up down here. And I went, whoa, I have to deal with that front kick. But because he's so powerful, scooping it or catching it means he's still gonna hit me in the body. So what can I do? Well, my pad holder was always running at me, and I would just go cut the angle. So now when he came with that big front kick, I was able to go whoop and move off to the side. Now we have two possible ways to block. Number one, we can just use our forearm and we can just batter it to the side. Just keep that body safe. Number two, we can lower our arm. This is a far more risky one, and you need to make sure that they're not going to come up with some sort of question mark, but I can lower my arm and knock it to the side with the bicep or the inside. And I go, but again, all based off this quick pivot. This quick pivot on my standing leg and the slide back on this foot. Now, in both these fights as well, these guys were throwing flying knees up the middle. Flying knee comes, I cut to the side, they pass through. No damage done. So now hopefully you understand the basics of this technique. You understand you move in the direction of the heel. The heel on the front foot, which pivots, has to disconnect so you can be very explosive on it. You don't want to kind of go, oh, like that. Snap, go fast, move in the correct direction. Hands can be up and come in the form of a check hook. If you're going strictly on defense, you can use that forearm or that bicep. And if you want to add it into your arsenal, you could be punching away on somebody, cut your angle, and then get back on the attack when they are compromised and you are not. And again, can be me standing here and just executing. It can be me taking a step and then executing. Both are very good. Now, I could do a whole 1 hour class just drilling this one thing, talking about initiating stance switches, boom, and then cutting to the side, kind of like Dominic Cruz does, all the fancy ways, but you have the bread and butter down now. And if you start adding in this little pivot off the lead leg, moving backwards, you can use it offensively, defensively, combine the two, offense and defense. There's so much information in this episode. So I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I hope that I see you next Monday in my Strike Ready course. I keep having people message me. Just had somebody yesterday who said, Gabriel, thank you so much for your defense course. I just had my first fight. I won. Your defense helped so much. Well, we're gonna do the same thing in this sweeps and throws course. We're gonna bring a whole new level to your understanding of how to dominate somebody by tossing them down to the ground. So I hope I see you there. Thank you for joining today, guys. We'll see you back here very soon.